Number 1. The power of silence. We live in a world where constant connection isn't just expected, it's demanded. Social media, texting, video calls, instant communication is everywhere. But let me ask you this. When was the last time being constantly available made someone value you more? The truth is, it doesn't. In fact, the more available you are, the more likely you are to be taken for granted. Silence, on the other hand, is powerful. When you stop constantly checking in, texting first, and always being there, you create a space for something transformative to happen. That silence doesn't go unnoticed, it creates a void. And that void is where curiosity begins to grow. Imagine this. You're always the one initiating conversations, sending good morning messages, and checking in. At first it feels good. You're getting responses, and the connection seems strong. But over time, something changes. The replies get shorter, the enthusiasm fades, and it feels like your efforts are going unnoticed. Slowly, you realize you're being taken for granted. So, what can you do? Pull back. Stop initiating. No more daily check-ins. No more casual messages. Instead, embrace silence. You might think this will make them forget about you, but the opposite happens. Your silence creates a gap that becomes impossible for them to ignore. Suddenly, they notice their phone isn't lighting up with your name. They start to wonder why. The truth is, we all crave attention, but it's the absence of attention that forces reflection. When you go quiet, people begin to appreciate your presence in a way they never did before. Silence speaks volumes. It's louder than any words you could say. It makes people realize that your presence was never something to be taken lightly. It's human nature. We don't truly value what we have until it's gone. The next time you feel like you're the only one putting in effort, take a step back. Don't text first for a few days. Skip the good morning messages. Don't react to their social media posts. Watch what happens. They'll start wondering about you, and when they do, they'll reach out. This isn't about controlling anyone. It's about teaching others to recognize your worth. Silence isn't passive. It's a deliberate choice. And sometimes it's the loudest, most impactful message you can send. Number 2. Why absence truly makes the heart grow fonder. You've heard the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder, but have you ever paused to consider why it's so true, especially in today's relationships? It's because absence disrupts the routine. When someone is always present, we become used to their presence. We stop noticing the small, thoughtful things they do. Their presence blends into the background, like white noise, and we take it for granted. But when they're gone, even for a short time, it changes everything. Suddenly, we're reminded of how much we relied on them and how much we valued them, even if we didn't show it. In today's world, where attention is everywhere, likes, comments, and messages, it's rare for anyone to step back. That's exactly why your absence stands out. Think of it like this. When you're always there, you're like wallpaper, pleasant but easily overlooked. But when you're no longer there, people notice the blank wall. This is the psychology behind absence. When you pull back, it forces others to do something they weren't doing before. Reflect. They start thinking about you, not because you're in front of them, but precisely because you're not. That space you create becomes a void, and that void highlights just how much you contributed to their lives. Imagine this. You're dating someone or in a close friendship, and you're always the one putting in the effort. You're planning the meetups, sending messages, sharing memes, and keeping the connection alive. But one day, you decide to stop. You don't initiate the next conversation or plan the next hangout. At first, nothing happens. Days might go by in silence, and you might even feel anxious, wondering if they've forgotten about you. But then, out of the blue, your phone lights up. "Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while." Is everything okay? That's the power of absence at work. It makes them realize that without you, something is missing. Your absence creates space for them to feel your worth and value your presence in a way they might not have before. Stop filling in all the gaps. Allow silence to exist. Let there be space. Resist the urge to fill it with a text or a call. Give them time to miss you. Let them wonder. This principle isn't just for romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, family, and even professional connections. When you're constantly available, people can start to take your presence for granted. But when you give them the gift of your absence, you allow them to reflect on what they had. Absence isn't about creating distance, it's about creating appreciation. By stepping back, you show others what they may have overlooked, and sometimes that's the most powerful reminder of your worth. Number 3, the unexpected strength of letting go. The unexpected strength of letting go is a concept that often feels counterintuitive, especially in a world that glorifies persistence, control, and attachment. We're conditioned to hold on tightly, whether it's to relationships, past experiences, dreams, or even versions of ourselves that we once believed defined us. Letting go, however, is not about weakness or giving up. Rather, it's about recognizing what no longer serves us and choosing to release it so we can make room for growth, peace, and new opportunities. Initially, letting go might seem like an act of surrender, as though we're resigning ourselves to defeat or helplessness. But in reality, letting go demands an immense amount of strength to confront what we cling to, strength to accept what we cannot control, and strength to believe that by releasing what holds us back, we're making space for something better to enter our lives. Holding on to things that no longer serve us creates a sense of stagnation, keeping us stuck in cycles of pain, doubt, and unfulfilled potential. Often, we cling to these things out of fear of the unknown, fear of losing what we believe is essential to our identity, and fear of letting go of something we think we can't live without. But it's this fear that traps us, preventing growth and keeping us from living fully in the present moment. Letting go begins with the willingness to confront those fears, to acknowledge them, and to realize that the freedom we seek lies beyond them. Letting go is not about running from life or escaping reality. Rather, it's about creating space for new possibilities to enter. It's about embracing the uncertainty that accompanies change and trusting that what's meant for us will come into our lives when we're ready to receive it. When we let go, we don't erase the past or disregard our experiences. Instead, we honor those experiences, accepting their role in shaping who we are, while acknowledging that they no longer need to define us. The strength of letting go is rooted in self-awareness and self-acceptance. It's about recognizing that we are not limited by our past, but empowered by the freedom to live authentically and in alignment with our values and desires. Letting go requires us to shift our focus away from external validation, attachments, and the need for control, allowing us to invest more fully in ourselves. It's about embracing a sense of emotional independence, knowing that we have the capacity to handle whatever life throws our way, regardless of whether others are present or not. Self-sufficiency, in this context, is a byproduct of letting go. When we stop looking to others for validation and fulfillment, we free ourselves from the burdens of dependency. People are naturally drawn to those who exude confidence, not neediness, and self-sufficiency becomes a magnetic trait that attracts the right energy into our lives. Letting go isn't just about severing ties with the past. It's about creating the space for something new, something more aligned with who we've become. The process of letting go can feel uncomfortable at first. It requires confronting discomfort, embracing uncertainty, and sometimes walking alone. But within that discomfort lies the opportunity for growth. We begin to rediscover our own strengths, passions, and resilience. We realize that our value is not tied to anyone or anything outside of ourselves, and this realization builds a foundation of self-worth that no one can take away. In fact, letting go often leads to a deeper sense of self-understanding and empowerment. It's not just about making someone miss us, but about reclaiming our own power and self-identity. When we let go, we signal to others that we are whole and complete on our own, that we don't need them to define our worth. This shift changes the dynamic in relationships. People are no longer drawn to us out of obligation or need, but out of admiration for the confidence and strength we exude. Letting go doesn't mean we lose something. Instead, we gain the ability to welcome new opportunities, better relationships, and deeper fulfillment into our lives. It becomes a process of self-liberation, where we learn that life's most meaningful connections come from a place of freedom, not dependency. The strength of letting go is found in the confidence we cultivate when we realize that we don't need external factors to validate our worth. It's in this release that we gain the freedom to live authentically and to pursue the life that feels most aligned with who we truly are. Number 4. When they miss you. When they miss you, something profound begins to shift within them. It's a feeling that often sneaks up on people when they least expect it. When the noise of life quiets down and they have the space to reflect. The absence of your presence creates an emptiness they didn't anticipate, a void they didn't realize was there until it was gone. Missing someone isn't just about longing for their physical presence. It's about the connection, the emotional bond, and the impact they had on your life. When someone truly misses you, it's because you left behind a void that can't be easily filled. They start to remember the moments they once took for granted, the conversations, the laughter, the quiet understanding. These memories come rushing back, often uninvited, filling their mind with thoughts of you. They wonder about your life, what you're doing, and who you've become since the distance between you grew. It's human nature to seek what feels familiar and comforting, and when you're no longer there, they begin to crave that sense of connection once more. Missing you often forces them to confront their own role in the relationship, realizing what they may have lost by not fully appreciating you when you were there. People don't truly recognize what they have until it's gone, and the absence of your energy creates a shift in their perspective. They may start to reflect on the times they were distant, the opportunities they overlooked, and the feelings they failed to express. The realization of what they've lost can be both painful and humbling. When they miss you, they begin to see your worth more clearly. The distractions of daily life fade, and they're left with the quiet realization that no one else has made them feel the way you did. They might begin to understand that you were not just another person in their life, but someone who truly mattered. This sense of missing you often leads to a deeper appreciation of your value. The longing they feel isn't merely about what you offered them in the past. It's about what they once took for granted and now crave once again. In their absence, they start to reflect on their own mistakes and the things they wish they had done differently. They wonder if they'll ever find someone like you again, someone who brought so much meaning into their life. The more they dwell on these thoughts, the more they realize how unique and rare your connection was. When they miss you, they start to see that the bond they once had was something they may not be able to recreate with anyone else. This awareness can lead to a mix of regret, longing, and a desire to reconnect, but often it's accompanied by the realization that they must face the consequences of their actions. The distance between you forces them to acknowledge the emotional space they once occupied, and the void left behind makes them feel incomplete. They may reach out, trying to regain the closeness they once had, but sometimes it's too late. Too late because they didn't fully grasp your worth while you were still present, and now they're grappling with the consequences of their absence. When they miss you, they begin to understand that what they lost wasn't just a person, but a part of themselves they were unwilling to embrace. The realization often comes at a time when they've grown, reflecting on what they've learned and how they've changed since you left. It's in these moments of solitude and reflection that they come to terms with the role they played in losing you. They may not fully understand why they took you for granted until they feel the emptiness of your absence. And in that emptiness, they begin to see their own longing for what they once had, a longing that won't fade easily. The more they miss you, the more they recognize the depth of your impact on their life. It's not just about the moments you spent together, but the way you made them feel, secure, valued, understood. The connection you shared became a part of their identity, and losing it forces them to confront a version of themselves they might have taken for granted. When they miss you, they often realize how much they depended on that connection, how much they let it shape their sense of self. In these moments, they begin to see that their lives felt fuller when you were a part of them, and they may wonder if they'll ever experience that sense of completeness again. This longing often becomes a source of reflection, sometimes regret, and eventually a deeper understanding of the impact they allowed to slip away. Missing you is not just about yearning for your company. It's about recognizing what was lost, what could have been, and what they may never find again. In the absence of you, they begin to see the depth of what they once had and what they let slip through their fingers. Whether they seek to regain that connection or simply live with the weight of their regret, they'll carry a piece of you with them, a piece that reminds them of what they once had and lost. When they miss you, they often realize that their lives will never feel the same without you, and that realization may be the catalyst for change, either within themselves or in their approach to relationships. However, by that time, you'll have likely moved forward, grown, and reclaimed your own life. And sometimes, the realization of what they've lost becomes a reminder that they can never have you the same way again, leaving them to reflect on a connection they now cherish from afar. Number 5. Why they suddenly start reaching out. They suddenly start reaching out because something within them has shifted, often without their full awareness. When they begin to reflect on their own life, they realize the absence of your presence and the impact you had. Sometimes, it takes time for people to truly understand the value of what they had until it's gone. Life tends to move quickly, and in their busyness, they might have taken you for granted, not fully appreciating the connection you offered. But when that connection is no longer there, the void you leave becomes difficult to ignore. They may begin to notice the emptiness you left behind, the silence where there once was conversation, the space where there was once intimacy. This realization starts as a subtle feeling that grows stronger over time. They might begin questioning why things feel different now, why things feel incomplete. They notice the absence of your voice, your presence, and your energy. And in that absence, they begin to long for what they once had. The connection you shared wasn't just a part of their life, it became a part of their routine, their sense of stability, and their emotional fulfillment. When that connection is no longer available, they start to feel a sense of loss that they didn't realize they had until it became tangible. Suddenly, they become aware of the gaps in their life where you once filled in, offering them something they didn't know they needed. It's often said that we don't realize what we have until it's gone, and this is precisely what happens. They begin to see that they've been relying on your presence, whether consciously or unconsciously, and the absence of it starts to feel like a void they can't ignore. As time passes, they start to feel restless, wondering what happened to you, questioning whether they made a mistake or if there's a chance to bridge the distance between you. This uncertainty and longing are what often drive people to reach out. They may not fully understand their own motivations, but deep down, they sense something missing, something they can't quite define. The thought of you lingers in their mind more than they'd like to admit, but instead of confronting those feelings, they've been avoiding them. It's easier to keep moving forward, distracting themselves, than to sit with the discomfort of the emptiness your absence has created. However, as they go about their lives, they realize that those distractions no longer fill the void in the same way you once did. The reminders of you become more frequent, whether it's a memory, a song, or even something as simple as a familiar scent that forces them to confront the realization that something essential has been lost. This growing awareness causes them to wonder if they should reach out, if they should reconnect, if there's still a chance to restore what they once had. Their hesitation comes from fear of rejection or fear of the unknown. But over time, this fear is often overshadowed by the desire to close the gap, to bring back the connection that once felt natural and comforting. They realize that trying to move on without addressing these lingering thoughts only leads to more confusion and emotional unrest. The desire to understand what's been lost and to perhaps reclaim it becomes stronger than their fear of the outcome. They might begin to ask themselves questions like, "What if I reached out and things could be different?" Or, "What if I missed my chance?" These uncertainties drive their actions, leading them to a place where reaching out feels like the only option to find closure or to reignite the connection that once brought them peace. When someone suddenly reaches out, it's often because they've spent enough time thinking about you, reflecting on what they lost, and realizing that they still care, sometimes more than they're willing to admit. The distance between you has become too painful to ignore, and they've come to understand that the bond they once had wasn't something they want to let go of completely. There's a longing to understand what happened, to know if you still feel the same way, or to see if there's still a chance for reconnection. In this space of uncertainty, they seek answers. They may wonder if the distance has changed how you feel about them and whether they still hold a place in your life. When they reach out, it's often an act of desperation in some ways, a way to regain control, to regain a sense of certainty in an otherwise uncertain situation. They're looking for signs, looking for reassurance, and hoping to re-establish the connection they once had. The urge to reach out is driven by a deep yearning to restore what they may have lost, whether it's clarity, closure, or the warmth of your presence. In many cases, they realize that their actions led to the space between you, and now they want to know if there's still a possibility of finding their way back. People tend to regret lost opportunities, and reaching out is often an attempt to rectify what they may have taken for granted. The fear of missing out on something meaningful is powerful, and it pushes them to break the silence and make contact. But what's important to remember is that their reaching out isn't always about rekindling the relationship. It's often about closure, about understanding what happened, and about acknowledging the impact you had on their life. Whether they hope for a response or not, the act of reaching out is often a turning point where they begin to face their own feelings and confront the consequences of their actions. And for you, how you respond can determine the next steps, not just for them, but for your own journey as well. Number 6, the art of non-attachment. The art of non-attachment is not about detaching from life entirely, but rather about letting go of the desire for control over the outcomes of situations and the people around you. In a world that thrives on attachment to material possessions, relationships, and outcomes, non-attachment offers a different way of living, one rooted in peace and freedom. It begins with recognizing that we cannot always control external circumstances, other people's actions, or the results of our efforts. Attachment often stems from a fear of loss and a desire to hold on to things that bring us comfort or security. However, the more tightly we grip onto those attachments, the more we set ourselves up for suffering when they are taken away or don't go as expected. Non-attachment, on the other hand, allows us to experience life with an open heart, embracing whatever comes without clinging to specific outcomes. It's not about giving up or becoming indifferent to what matters to us. It's about shifting our focus from the desire for control to accepting things as they are. This mindset helps us cultivate resilience and peace in the face of uncertainty. When we let go of attachments, we create space for freedom and clarity. We stop tying our happiness to external factors and instead learn to find peace within ourselves, regardless of what happens. Non-attachment doesn't mean we don't care. It means we care without being controlled by our desires or fears. It's about being present with what is, without needing to manipulate, control, or cling to outcomes. In relationships, non-attachment allows us to love and connect deeply, but without the fear of loss or the need for validation. When we practice non-attachment, we let go of the need for others to behave in a certain way to make us happy. We understand that our happiness is not dependent on the actions or decisions of others, but rather on our own inner state of being. This doesn't mean we abandon our goals or responsibilities. It means we approach them with a sense of openness and acceptance, rather than with attachment and attachment-driven anxiety. Non-attachment is not about apathy. It's about choosing not to suffer unnecessarily over things we cannot control. It's about acknowledging the impermanence of life and understanding that nothing is truly permanent. When we let go of attachment, we reduce the pain of clinging to things that are fleeting or beyond our control. This doesn't mean we don't care about outcomes or that we don't work toward our goals. Instead, we recognize that the outcome is often beyond our influence, and we release the need to control the process or the result. In doing so, we free ourselves from the stress of attachment and embrace life as it unfolds. The art of non-attachment invites us to be present in the moment, to appreciate life without demanding it be a certain way. It's about trusting that things will work out, even if they don't turn out as we hoped. By letting go of attachment, we allow ourselves to flow with life rather than resist it. Non-attachment doesn't mean we don't care. Rather, it allows us to care deeply, but without the clinging that creates suffering. We recognize that our peace comes from within, not from external circumstances or outcomes. The practice of non-attachment isn't about giving up on the things we care about. Rather, it's about letting go of the illusion of control and surrendering to the natural flow of life. When we embrace non-attachment, we open ourselves to greater freedom, peace, and contentment, regardless of what life presents. It's not about detachment in a negative sense. It's about freedom in its most profound form. Number 7. How to rebuild your self-worth through absence. Rebuilding self-worth through absence may seem counterintuitive, but it holds profound power. When you've spent countless hours, days, or even months pouring your energy into someone who doesn't reciprocate the same level of effort or attention, it can leave you feeling diminished and questioning your own value. You might begin to wonder, what's wrong with me? Or, why don't they appreciate me? These thoughts are natural, but they also indicate that your self-worth has become intertwined with someone else's perception of you. Absence, however, offers a chance to step back, create distance, and reclaim your sense of self. The moment you withdraw your energy from someone who's been consistently unavailable or dismissive, you start to remove the factors that contribute to the erosion of self-worth. When you're constantly seeking validation from someone who doesn't provide it, you're essentially giving your power away. Absence allows you to break free from that cycle. It forces both you and the other person to confront your own realities. For them, your absence creates space for reflection. For you, it offers the opportunity to rediscover your own value independently of external validation. The irony is that people often take what they have for granted, especially when they don't have to work for it. When you remove yourself from their life, they begin to notice the void you've left behind. It's not just about them realizing what they've lost, but about you realizing what you've regained: the control over your own self-worth. Absence isn't about punishment or trying to make someone miss you. It's about breaking free from the cycle of dependency on someone else's attention to feel valuable. When you stop seeking their validation, you reclaim your power. The absence of constant effort allows you to focus on rebuilding yourself. You begin to invest in activities that nourish your well-being, whether that's improving your health, pursuing your passions, or working on personal growth. These pursuits strengthen your sense of self-worth, not by what others think of you, but by what you're achieving for yourself. Rebuilding your self-worth through absence also reminds you that your value isn't tied to how others perceive you. It's not about them noticing what they've lost. It's about you recognizing what you've gained: confidence, resilience, and self-reliance. The more you invest in yourself, the less you'll feel the need for external validation. You stop waiting around for someone to acknowledge your worth because you've already found it within yourself. Absence provides the space to rediscover who you are, apart from the relationship or the other person. This self-awareness allows you to see yourself as someone capable of living a fulfilling life without needing someone else to complete you. When they eventually realize they miss you, they'll be met with someone who's not only thriving, but who's also detached from the need for their approval. This creates a shift in the dynamic. No longer are you the person begging for attention. Now, they begin to wonder if they let something valuable slip through their fingers. But by the time they do, you've moved forward, you've grown, and you've become someone who isn't dependent on their validation to feel worthy. You've become someone who knows their own worth, regardless of anyone's opinion. The process of rebuilding your self-worth through absence is about reclaiming your power and confidence. It's not about trying to make someone regret their actions, but about focusing on your own growth and understanding that your worth isn't determined by anyone else. It's a journey of self-discovery, of realizing that your value doesn't come from being needed or wanted. It comes from within, and when you step away, you show yourself that you are more than enough on your own. Number 8. The magnetism of self-sufficiency. In today's world, self-sufficiency is a rare and powerful trait. Most people are constantly seeking external validation, whether it's through likes on social media, compliments from others, or attention from a romantic partner. But when you're truly self-sufficient, you don't need any of that. You're not looking for someone else to make you feel whole because you've already done the work to make yourself whole. And that's where the magnetism lies. Here's the thing, people are naturally drawn to strength. They're attracted to those who don't need them. Self-sufficiency is the ultimate form of strength. It says, I don't need you to complete me because I'm already complete. When you operate from this mindset, you become magnetic. People want to be around you because they see that. You're not needy, you're not clingy, you're not seeking their approval. Why does this work? Because people don't want to feel responsible for your happiness. It's a burden. But when you show them that you're happy on your own, that you don't need them to validate your worth, they're drawn to you like a magnet. Self-sufficiency flips the script in any relationship. How to develop self-sufficiency. Build a life you love. Focus on what makes you happy. What drives you? What are your passions? What fulfills you? when you shift your energy toward creating a fulfilling life for yourself. You stop looking to others for fulfillment. That's when they start looking to you. Be emotionally independent. Self-sufficiency isn't just about financial stability or a good career, although those are important. It's about knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you, with or without someone by your side. Embrace your strength. Being self-sufficient means showing the world that you don't wait for anyone's permission to live your life. You're out there making things happen, and that confidence is irresistible. Why self-sufficiency works. When you embody self-sufficiency, people gravitate toward you, not because they feel needed, but because they want to be part of the incredible life you're building. And here's the kicker: self-sufficiency breeds respect. When you're independent, people admire your strength. They respect you because you're not waiting around for their validation or attention. You've already leveled up, and they want to be part of your journey. The ultimate power move. The more you focus on building a life that fulfills you, the more magnetic you become. Self-sufficiency isn't just about attracting others. It's about ensuring you never settle for less than you deserve. When you master self-sufficiency, you don't just live, you thrive. Number 9, why they can't stop thinking about you. Here's the thing: when you're constantly available to someone, they don't have the space to think about you. You're always there, so they never get the chance to wonder what life would be like without you. But the moment you step back, the moment you go silent, everything changes. Suddenly, you're no longer part of their daily routine. You become a mystery, and nothing is more attractive than mystery. When you pull away, their mind starts racing. Why aren't they texting me? Did something happen? Are they seeing someone else? Are they over me? These thoughts flood their mind, and before they know it, you're all they can think about. The power of absence. We crave what we can't have. When you make yourself less available, you create a sense of scarcity that drives them crazy. People always want what they can't have. When you pull back, you disrupt their sense of certainty. Suddenly they're not sure if they have you anymore. And when people feel like they're losing something, they start to value it more. That's the game. If you want to get someone's attention, stop giving them yours. Let them wonder. The less you reach out, the more they'll think about you. They'll check your social media. They'll ask mutual friends about you. They'll wonder what you're up to. Let them wonder. Let them miss you. That curiosity will turn into obsession. But here's where most people go wrong. They get impatient. They break the silence by reaching out first. Don't do that. Let them come to you. The longer you hold out, the more powerful this strategy becomes. Eventually, they'll crack. They'll reach out. And when they do, you'll be in the driver's seat. Number 10. The moment they realize what they've lost. There's a moment in every relationship when someone realizes what they've lost. It doesn't happen the day you stop texting or the moment you pull back. It happens later, after they've had time to sit with your absence. It could be triggered by something small, a song you used to listen to together, a place you used to go, a quiet realization that no one else makes them feel the way you did. And when it hits them, it hits hard. They'll replay everything in their mind. The times you were there for them, the things you did to make them feel special, the way you always showed up when they needed you, and they'll realize they took it all for granted. They'll realize they let someone incredible slip through their fingers. What happens next? When they come back, and trust me, they will, don't rush to take them back. Let them feel that regret. Let them prove they deserve a second chance. Don't make it easy for them. Make them work for it. If they truly want you back, they'll show you. But here's the beauty of this process. You might not even want them back. By the time they realize their mistake, you'll have grown. you'll have rebuilt your self-worth, and you might decide you're better off without them. The bigger picture. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about reclaiming your power and rediscovering your self-worth. When you stop chasing, you force people to see your value. You give them the space to miss you, reflect on what they've lost, and realize they took you for granted. Most importantly, you show yourself that your value isn't tied to how someone else treats you. Your value comes from within. Take action. If this message resonates with you, take action. Drop a comment below with "My absence will speak for me" and join the conversation. Let's build a community of strong, self-sufficient people who know their worth. If you'd like to support the channel and help us create more content like this, consider joining our channel memberships. It helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. If you can't do that, a simple subscribe goes a long way. Every bit of support helps, and together we can grow this community. Thanks for watching.